Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Talks Games, and today we are talking about Kirby Air Riders. We just got a fat 45-minute direct hosted by Mr. Masahiro Sakurai himself, going over a ton of details for Kirby Air Riders. Not everything, which is a little surprising. You know, we're 3 months out from this game, and he's still teasing that there's more to it. Seems like there might be more modes. We didn't see the challenge board or anything like that, but he showed a lot in this 45-minute demo, really just showing off the menus and full matches of City Trial and the actual air ride race, and I have some thoughts. Mostly positive. I do have a couple of nitpicks I want to discuss as well, but overall thoughts on the presentation itself. Bravo, Sakurai. It feels good to see him again. You can tell he's very passionate about this project. He just seemed like he was having a great time recording this direct, but also just showing off the game and like really presenting it for the first time. These are my favorite game-specific presentations. You know, the Mario Kart World Direct, that felt like an overview trailer. The DK Bonanza Direct had a ton of new information packed in there, but it felt a little impersonal because it was just this, you know, nameless announcer narrating everything. But this, it's like, okay, we get to see the director of the game really just geeking out about his creation here, which is always really fun, and just seeing his enjoyment of it. So really great presentation overall. Really enjoyed how they packaged it. I liked how throughout it, you know, we would go from different segments, like, okay, now we're focusing on the different machines in the game or the different stages, but then he would intersperse like, okay, here's a bunch of character reveals at one moment in the direct, and then a little bit later he'd show even more characters. I liked how it was kind of just paced overall. And yeah, I mean, I think this game looks like a lot of fun. I am so excited to get my hands on this. It's coming out, I guess, a little bit earlier than I originally expected, but also after the hype yesterday, a little bit later than I expected. Some people were saying September. I originally was thinking it was a December game. Now it's a November game, as we know. We'll talk about the release date a little bit more in depth in just a second, but overall thoughts, it looks really good. Definitely have some issues with the like visuals and stuff, but I think this is going to be a ton of fun. Let's start off with what I think is always kind of the most fun thing to discuss in a game like this, and that is the character roster. So I don't know the exact number of characters they revealed, but they showed quite a few. I have to assume there's still more because they showed that City Trial is 16 players overall, and I don't think we had 16 players quite, or 16 characters revealed. Maybe counting the different Kirby colors, you might have 16, but either way, they showed a lot of stuff here, including a lot of modern Kirby. Now, I guess there's been this whole thing about Sakurai and like how he might have an agenda against modern Kirby because he didn't have a part in it, but luckily we see Magolor in here, which is the one I mentioned that I wanted in my video yesterday. He was the most obvious pick, but you also have Suzy in there, you have some other characters as well, and you have your classics like Chef Kawasaki, and, you know, Gooey is in there. So really good roster. I want to see more. I'm hoping there's quite a few more characters here, but also I'm not sure because it looks like Sakurai went to great lengths to really make each character actually play pretty differently overall, and that goes with the machines as well. So what really surprised me is that every character has copy abilities. So in the original Kirby Air Ride, you really just played as the different 4 different Kirbys, and naturally Kirby has copy abilities. That's a big mechanic in this game, sucking up enemies and then using that ability on the racetrack or in City Trial. In this game, they basically had to figure out how to make that work for every character. So in this case, Gooey can use his tongue to grab an enemy and eat him up, or King DDD has some sort of like copy ability, but it's not him sucking it up. It's each character has like their own bespoke method of copying an ability, and you get costumes for all of them. I really like that. You know, seeing Magolor with like the cutter ability hat on is really cute. So really happy they were able to keep that like core copy ability working with all of these characters, because that was my biggest thing. I just wanted a ton of characters in this game to really, you know, just mix up the play styles. And you have the machines as well, which he showed at one point in the direct. They actually like change size based on who's riding it, which makes sense. You know, King DDD is going to need a bigger vehicle than Kirby will. So it reminds me of when they did the Minecraft stuff for Smash, where they had to like redesign every stage to fit with like the grid for blocks that Steve places down. It reminds me of that, where it's like the attention to detail of having every character fit the different machines in different sizes, but also having them all do their own unique copy animation. Just really cool. Just a nice attention to detail. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Makes each character feel unique and fun to play. Very excited about the character roster, and once again, I just hope we see even more. Like, we didn't see any Forgotten Land characters here. That has to be here, right? You would hope so. So I think we'll get another trailer or presentation later on that reveals even more characters. I also hope we have some that are, you know, secret until the full game releases, and that's how we find those out. But character roster, very happy that it is not just old Kirby, it is modern Kirby as well, and we'll see how big that ends up being. The machines, once again, not too much to say here. They look cool. We have some returning ones from the original Kirby Air Ride. We have some new ones. I love it kind of reminds me of like a Twisted Metal thing. I think it's like Big Wheel, where it's just these 2 huge wheels and then Kirby's in the middle. I love that. You have like some motorcycle looking ones, and we'll have to actually get our hands on them with this and, you know, see how these all feel. But it seems like there's a good variety in the machines. Air Ride mode itself, so the main racing mode here, although even in the presentation itself, Sakurai says that City Trial is the main events here, but the racing mode. So they've kept it very simple and very straightforward, and I think that is kind of the theme with this game. They haven't really changed that much. Like, you think, okay, 22 years, they're going to do this big evolution of Kirby Air Ride, and there's going to be new modes and new mechanics. Not really. In fact, Sakurai very proudly at the beginning is like, you still play it with one button. You still play it by pressing to hold down, to brake, to charge boost, that kind of thing, while tilting the left stick left or right. And in terms of like that core gameplay, it is basically identical to the original GameCube version, which is surprising, but also not really when you consider that Sakurai usually does iterate quite a bit with his sequels. The core racing mode seems very similar. Of course, now you do have those other characters, and they can all do copy ability, so that changes it up a little bit. You do have a second button now, though. I do love that in the Direct, Sakurai says, like, unfortunately, we had to add a second button, because, you know, he wants to keep it simple. But there is a special button now where you fill up a gauge, and then each character has their own special. The 4 different Kirby colors and alts, they have their own specials, so, like, the, you know, Ice Kirby does, like, a snowball thing. Basic Kirby does the giant sword from Return to Dreamland. But then, you know, Susie and Gooey and all these other characters, they have their own special abilities that are, you know, more catered to what that character actually does, which is really cool. And these can range from just giving you more of like a speed boost, some will do more damage, just really depends on the character. It's gonna make picking the character you play as more interesting than a game like Mario Kart, because, well, Mario Kart is just like, okay, weight stats and everything, and this, it's like the double dash items, basically, where it's like, you know, you have double dash and each character has like a specific item that you can get in the item box. And Kirby Air Riders, each character has their own special ability that'll make them feel more unique than the others, which I think is really cool. They only showed a few tracks here. I'm not sure if this is everything that's in the game for the main Air Ride racing mode, but I think they all look really good. Some are a little basic, like the grassland stage, but then you have this like cool, like neon, techno, weird space world one. That one looks really great. And I believe they said the racing mode is now 6 players instead of 4, so increase a little bit. He did a full demo, like showing off like a full 1-lap race of the racing mode. And at first I was like, oh, maybe they should have done like 8 or 10 players even. It looks chaotic because the actual course design is basically 1-to-1 with what you would have seen in the original GameCube version. If you add more players to that, it just gets so chaotic. Even just having 6 players, there were times they all get congested and the Kirbys are going crazy and it's very chaotic. So I think having 6 is a pretty good, you know, it's nice to have more players, but also you don't want to get crazy with it without, you know, having to change the entire design of the courses, right? So that mode looks like a lot of fun, but then we have what Sakurai said was the main event, and that is City Trial. So admittedly, I haven't played a ton of Kirby Air Ride. I played it for the first time last year for like, I don't know, 5 hours, and I enjoyed my time with it. I actually had more fun playing Air Ride, like the racing mode, than City Trial. I think that's just because, well, I was playing locally with like one person, and, you know, we didn't really get into it, but City Trial wasn't like my favorite thing. I definitely prefer the racing mode, but City Trial on this, you have this one map, it's on like a floating island. It looks really fun. You have all these different like areas on it. Of course, you have your abilities dropping that you gather, and, you know, kind of like a battle royale setup a little bit. In the original game, it was only 4 players. Now it's 16 players. That was one of the big things I wanted in my video yesterday, is like, City Trial is basically battle royale. You need to up the player count a lot. I think I might have said 24 or 32 in that video. I think 16 players is great, though. I mean, maybe adding more would be too chaotic. I'm not sure. Of course, at that point, the map would have to be bigger. But 16 players, that's a good increase over the original. I mean, it's literally 4 times the amount. We'll see how chaotic it gets, but I'm just happy there's more players in each match than the original version. It looks like matches take about 5 minutes. Looks like it'll be pretty quick to get through and into other matches. They showed like the queuing system, at least for the racing mode. You just go straight into it. Like it's very quick how you are going to be playing through these matches, which is nice. So it's going to be a pretty easy pick up and play kind of game. I really like how they're handling like the real-time events, but also the events at the end of the match. So for like the real-time, like, you know, stage-based environmental hazards that pop up randomly throughout it. Of course, you have like your Gordos falling down. You have the Krakow shooting lightning or whatever. But then you also have these races that'll pop up, and it'll be like a segmented portion of the City Trial map, and you have to do a race. But there will be these events that pop up at different times, and basically, if you go to one and no one else goes to it, you just win by default. And it's, I don't know, he was talking a lot about like there's like mind games you can play of like, okay, I want to go here, maybe make sure no one else goes here, I want to follow them, or even like with the voting for the final event. If you are, you know, on a machine that has really great flying stats, other people can see that. They're going to assume you're going to pick the stadium event that has, more benefit if you're using a flying machine, that kind of thing. He's talking a lot about these mind games you can play with other players. I wonder if that'll really translate in actual practice and random lobbies or what, but just kind of interesting seeing his perspective on it. And I do like that you can vote for the final event, be it the, fly through where you go through like the scoring. Kind of reminds me of like Game & Wario, the Franks, if you remember that. A little throwback there. You also have the ones where you're just, defeating enemies, whatever. And yeah, I just think that City Trial looks like a lot of fun. I think this is where realistically the majority of my time will be, even though I didn't love what I played in the GameCube version. I think having it be 16 player online, having it just be with randoms is going to add so much to this mode for me, and it just looks like it's going to get really competitive. I already know, because there's so much going on in terms of like what machine you want to grab and then what build you want to go for with that, what upgrades you're grabbing. It's going to be a lot to learn. There's going to be a learning curve with this. I do love that they also changed how you get into other machines that like spawn in the map. In the original game, you had to dismount out of your current machine and then get into another one. And this, you can target one and just press Y and immediately get in it from your current machine, so you don't have to get out and then do it. So I like that. That's a good, quality of life change. But overall, I mean, as fun as I think this game looks, I am a little surprised that it does just look like Kirby Air Ride. Like, this is just Kirby Air Ride. Now, they do tease something at the end. I'm not a Kirby lore aficionado. I don't think this is anything pre-existing. This seems to be something new entirely. Dark Magalore or something. I don't really know what this is, to be honest. So if you're a more diehard Kirby fan than me, maybe you can let me know and help me out here. It seems like it might be a tease for some sort of story mode or something. You have this like very gritty Sephiroth looking Kirby character on like a motorcycle on this barren wasteland, has the budget of like a Smash reveal trailer. So I'm not sure what to make of this. Is it just a character that's going to be in the game? Is it some sort of story tease, another mode? He did say there's more to this game that he cannot show today. I want to say, and I want to hope that there's, another major mode, because I mean, we know there's a lot he didn't show. Even in, yesterday's video, we talked about it. The Twitter account for this game has an icon of like a little Kirby figurine. We didn't see that in this direct. We didn't see any of like the challenges or, unlockables, that kind of thing. So I think there is still a lot to this game we don't know. I just wonder to what extent, right? Challenge board, trophies, that seems all pretty likely. But are we getting Top Ride back? Are we getting some sort of story mode? And then the final thing I wanted to say for the game itself, visually, I do think it's a little underwhelming. Now, I'm not going to nitpick too much here because it's Kirby, and I think Kirby just inherently looks good. Like, the world of Kirby just looks good. However, there's a lot of pop in this trailer, and also, you can't tell me this wouldn't run on Switch 1. This looks like a Switch 1 game, just like the textures and everything. There's this one shot specifically that my friend pointed out of the giant bird from Superstar. That almost looks like a screenshot from Brawl. I'm gonna be honest, like an HD, So Sakurai's games have never been the most visually like crazy, but I was a little hopeful that because it is a more of a straightforward racing game, but also you have City Trial, that maybe it would be souped up a little bit. But this kind of just looks like a Switch 1 game, maybe running in 4K. The file size on the eShop says 25 gigs, which actually, not to be too conspiracy brain, does indicate to me there's like some 4K uncompressed, cutscenes or something in there, which I think actually would suggest a story mode or something like that, because that is huge for this game, which ultimately, like, maybe there's a lot we don't know about, but it looks pretty like straightforward in terms of the content here. You have a couple racing tracks, you have your one City Trial track, you presumably have these trophies and stuff, but it doesn't seem like the biggest game in the world. I'm going to get a lot out of it because I'm going to play online for, dozens and dozens of hours, and I'm gonna really, really enjoy it. But it doesn't seem like the heaviest game in terms of like how much content is in there. So 25 gigs just seems a little weird for the file size. So I wonder if there's something there that we can kind of speculate on. And then, yeah, the final thing to talk about, I think I might do a full separate video on this because people are losing their minds. The release date. So November 20th is when this is coming out. I was saying December originally. After the direct was announced, I was like, well, maybe September. They're doing this one game at a time marketing. I don't think this means that Prime 4 isn't coming out until after November 20th. People are saying like, oh God, Prime 4 is delayed because this is their next game. I don't think that's the case. I think that we will still get other games before Kirby Air Riders. It is, on the one hand, exciting that it's earlier than I originally thought, being December, but also after the hype of yesterday, I was like, oh, maybe it's coming out even sooner. No sort of beta announced here, no amiibo announced here. These are things I would have liked to see, but maybe that'll happen a little bit closer. I would not be surprised if we get a whole second Masahiro Sakurai direct on this game in like October that shows whatever that story tease was or whatever that was, the challenges, and really goes even more in depth on like the character roster and machines. So maybe not a 45-minute presentation, maybe just like a 15-20-minute one. But I think we could see more about this game in another presentation soon, or in a couple months, that'll really blow the doors even more open. But overall, I'm excited for it. Basically, just a by the numbers sequel to Kirby Air Ride, which is fine, but I do kind of wish there was something more juicy there. But maybe that is that story tease or whatever that was at the end of the direct. We will have to wait and see. Final thing is I really love the vocal soundtrack that this game has. They already put it on Nintendo Music. That's what that whole debacle was last night. They actually added a couple tracks from the game, including the main theme, which does have English vocals, which is very cool. So overall, really enjoyed the direct. Fantastic presentation from Sakurai. Cannot wait for this game. I just wish it was a little bit sooner. But regardless, I will be playing it at PAX West. It's going to be playable at PAX West, so I will go hands-on with it and bring you guys an impressions video. In about 10 days, we'll do tons of videos on this game. I have a couple of videos already I want to do, like a character roster prediction. I want to do a video on the release dates. People are freaking out about the pricing. I might do a video talking about that a little bit. But yeah, lots to cover and lots to talk about when it comes to Kirby Air Riders. But that is going to do it for today's video. Of course, subscribe here for more Kirby Air Riders content, but also Switch 2 coverage. I would appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames. I will be live streaming Gamescom opening night live in about, honestly, by the time you're watching this, I'll probably already be live. So check out that if you want to watch some game announcements with me. And until next time, folks, peace.